Well, hi once again, everybody. Welcome into another, what promises to be a very exciting edition of the 19th Hole Podcast for Golfers. I'm your host, Dennis Silvers, and hope you're having a good day and getting out and playing some golf. The weather here in Las Vegas is finally getting decent. A couple of days ago, we had a lot of rain, which we need. Golf courses got a good soaking, which is going to make the people over at the Southern Nevada Water Authority very, very happy. We had some lightning, we had some clouds, and it was obviously just not good for getting out and playing some golf. But now everything is good. We hope it's good in your part of the country. We hope the people in South Florida are doing okay. I've got a lot of friends that live down there that I've been in contact with, and so far so good. Minimal amount of damage. We're getting rain, a little bit of rain, a lot of wind, but nothing very serious to that. We've got a great show for you today. We got a gentleman on that is just absolutely awesome, and I want to get right to it. Let me give you a little bit about our special guest, Ron Cyrak. Ron has decades of experience writing about golf and its players. Ron worked for Associated Press, Golf Digest, and Golf World magazines. He is the recipient of the PGA Lifetime Achievement in Journalism Award, the LPGA Lifetime Media Excellence Award, and the New York Metro Golf Writers Association Award. And of course, Metro is short for Metropolitan, as you probably guessed. He is also a past president of the Golf Writers Association of America. Pretty strong there. Ron is also a best-selling author. His columns currently appear on various varieties of USGA platforms, and he is also a regular contributor to the Golf Channel. So without further ado, let's bring up our special guest, Ron Cyrak. And Ron, I understand you just got off the golf course and you won some money. So how good is that?
You know, all that intro, I think that all adds up to the fact that I'm an old guy. I'm here on Cape Cod, and fall golf on Cape Cod is awesome. We had a hot, dry summer. We just had a little rain last week, and the golf courses are in excellent shape right now. We should have about 2 months of great weather for golf here.
Oh yeah. Do you play at one particular course? Are you a member somewhere, or do you change it up every week?
I'm a member at the Chiquessa Club and another one called Highland Links, which are Highland Links is a cool course that was built in 1892.
Wow!
It's the only course on the ocean side of Cape Cod. When they created the Cape Cod National Seashore, it was grandfathered in. It's a fun little place. Very linksy.
Yeah, I bet. It's got to be absolutely beautiful. Let me kick it off and ask you this, Ron. What's the best part of being a golf writer, and are there any downsides that you see?
Well, you know, best part of being a golf writer, there's no night games. You know, I love that. Those other sports. I did all those other sports, and as a writer, man, those basketball games ending at 11:30 at night. So that's the best thing about golf. But you know, I mean, seriously, the athletes are really a joy to deal with. I think it's probably, particularly the nature of golf. It's a game that you have to think about a lot.
Right.
So you find that the players are able to articulate their relationship to the game probably better than any other athletes that are out there. You know, as a writer, the better you know somebody, the better you can write about them, and the golfers let you get to know them.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Is there a correlation, and I'm just thinking of this now, Ron, is there a correlation between their personality when you are interviewing them and the way they play? In other words, a guy like Nick Price is known for playing very fast. Would he speak quickly, or just the opposite? Somebody who takes a lot of time, they're thinking about what they're saying to you. Any parallel in that at all?
Yeah, I think so. I'll give you a really good example. After the '96 Masters, the Greg Norman, Nick Faldo final round there, The next year, I decided I'm going to do my story, my preview. I was going to go back and look at the 96 Masters again. So I got Faldo and Norman separately, and I had each of them talk me through shot by shot through that final round. And Faldo was absolutely brilliantly thoughtful. I mean, he pointed out things that I didn't notice, like that he only left himself one downhill putt the entire day.
Wow.
And Greg Norman said, I made no bad decisions, and I only made 2 bad swings. And I'm thinking, boy, that's not the round of golf I saw, And to me, that showed the difference in the personality between those two guys. Where Greg was a go for broke emotion player, and Faldo was a cerebral, thoughtful player out there.
Yeah, I know a lot of people miss him on the golf broadcast that he retired. And, of course, we're going to be talking about Greg Norman because we're going to talk about the LIV Tour, obviously, a little bit later. Ron, what do you think is the biggest difference or two between the PGA Tour today and the LPGA Tour?
Well, it's the exposure. When people ask me what's the single thing the LPGA needs to do to grow in popularity,
right,
it's to have better TV exposure. As good of a job as Golf Channel does covering the LPGA, and they do a terrific job, when you're on Golf Channel, you're preaching to the choir. You're reaching an audience who are already already golf fans.
True.
You need to get network coverage. You need to reach those casual fans, the casual sports fan, and bring them into your game. And that's the biggest difference right now, is that the exposure for the PGA Tour is much on TV is much greater than the exposure for the LPGA. The LPGA really needs to figure out a way to fix that.
Yeah, they do. Do you ever think that they're gonna come even close to the money purses, to the prizes that are given to the PGA Tour as opposed to the LPGA Tour? I know it's all about sponsorship and television revenue, but a lot of people saying, hey, it's equality. These gals are playing a pretty darn good game and they should be making more money.
I think that again, TV exposure, TV revenue drives purses. TV revenue drives salaries in every sport. Every sport that's where the money comes from. It comes from TV rights fees. I think, and TV executives that I talk to would love to see mixed gender events. They would love to see mixed team events. Match play with mixed teams. Maybe a mixed team event. And I think that's going to be something that will be needed to done to raise the prize money.
Right.
Now, the rub in all that is, are the PGA Tour guys going to be willing to share their money?
Right.
And
good point.
We've had some tournaments. There are tournaments on the Ladies European Tour. There's tournaments in Australia where the men and the women play together at the same time. And there's a man winner, there's a women winner. They go out in alternating threesomes. They play from different tees. But you're talking about the total purse for those tournaments is $3 million, $4 million. You're not going to get any PGA Tour players to play for that kind of purse.
Yeah.
So how do you get around that?
Yeah, that's a very, very good point. You got to do some real selling. Ron, you're the perfect guy to ask this next question. And I've discussed it on the show before with a number of people, but I want to get your answer to it. Do you think the American women will ever dominate the LPGA Tour again? Because frankly, I don't see it.
Well, when I first started covering the LPGA, 90% of the players on tour were Americans and 90% of the winners were Americans. Now, about 40% of the players on tour are Americans and 40% of the winners are Americans. So that hasn't gotten out of balance. It's just that the game has gone global. And look, when Mike Wan was commissioner, he took what a lot of people perceived as a negative for the LPGA, this foreign influence, and he turned it into a positive. He marketed the LPGA as golf's global tour, and it is. The largest single revenue stream the LPGA has is Korean TV money.
Right.
So that exposure has been a financial plus for them. But the fact is, and sometimes I think we lose sight of the fact that On the men's side, there's a whole lot of players who aren't Americans who are top players in the world. John Rahm, Rory McIlroy,
True.
Cameron
True.
Smith. Just a ton of players out there. But on the LPGA, it becomes more noticeable because more of the players come from Asia.
True.
And people struggle with the names and all that. You're starting to see that creep into the PGA Tour a little bit right now. You're seeing more and more of a Korean. One of the setback problems for Korean men as opposed to Korean women is there's still 27 months mandatory military service that the men have to do.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times somebody like a Tom Kim comes along
Right.
and they're playing really good golf, and then they got to take 2 years off to do mandatory military service.
Yeah.
The Korean women players don't have that.
That's a very, very good point. Do you think the background of the ladies as far as Asian players, Korean, wherever, because they start obviously at an early age, they learn to become driven in their game, where it seems like the American ladies just don't have the same fire in the belly, so to speak?
Well, I think that a lot of the growth of Korean girls golf is dad driven over there, and they do. And here's some big differences. You can turn pro in Korea at 14.
Really? I didn't know that.
And there are levels of professional tours over there.
Wow.
So they, a lot of time, every time a Korean player I'll be at a tournament and a Korean player pops up on the leaderboard and I haven't heard of them. And then I start to do my research and found out, she's 19 years old, but she's won 17 tournaments in Korea. They're really, 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 they're battle tested and experienced. And now Mike Wan, who used to be the LPGA commissioner, is now the CEO of the USGA.
Right.
And one of the things that he's starting to do there now is create a U.S. national team program. It's going to be based in Pinehurst. Heather Daly Donofrio, who used to play on the LPGA, used to be an LPGA executive, is going to run the program. And I think that's all going to help the U.S. Develop tougher, more battle-ready younger players.
Right.
You look, and this is true in Ryder Cup and Solheim Cup both. The European players play much more team competition than we do. And they play match play countries against countries. And so they, at a very early age, are learning to be competitively tough.
Right, exactly. You mentioned the Ryder Cup. I'm sure you got some thoughts on the President's Cup. And I posted, I said, this is probably a walk in the park for Davis Love with the team that he's got assembled. I mean, I think my 12-year-old nephew could have been the captain and not done the pairings, they still would have won. And they played great, and there's some great players on the other side. But what's your thoughts on the President's Cup that just finished?
Well, I mean, it's funny. U.S. ends up winning by 5 points, and we all think it was closer than we expected. So
That's true.
There is a lot of talent on the international side. Frankly, from where I'm sitting, it now stands 12-1-1. The United States is 1-12. Internationals 1 was a half. I think a big part of the problem is the international team is sort of an artificially constructed entity. You look at the Ryder Cup in Europe there's a flag. Europe has a flag. Europe has an anthem. That it's an entity. And in all honesty, Korean players and Japanese players would rather not play on the same team. They'd rather play against each other. That they have that natural. So I think that the President's Cup would function better if the LPGA created an event about 10 years ago. The Solheim Cup almost went away.
Right.
Everybody was saying, oh, there's so many great players from Asia. They can't play in the Solheim Cup. What are we going to do about that?
Right.
Well, the LPGA did something really smart. They kept the Solheim Cup, which has become a really, really good event, and they created the International Crown. International Crown is 8 countries, 4-player teams, and you sort of play round-robin competitions and the first few days leading up to final on, and I think that is a great format that the President's Cup could use, because it takes advantage of those natural rivalries like Japan and Korea and China competing against each other. It takes advantage of those natural rivalries without creating this artificially constructed team.
Well, on that same note, and before we take our first break, Ron, what would you do if you were in charge to bolster the President's Cup opposite the Ryder Cup? Is a huge event, as it should be, but I frankly think that the President's Cup needs a little bolstering. What would you do if you were in charge of that to really get it out there?
I would change the format. I would change the format into some sort of round robin team competition. Where you'd have eight different countries represented in it. The United States would be one, and 7 other ones, and have them compete against each other that way. I think it would be different. Yeah. And I think it would be more intense.
I agree. That would be good. All right, Ron, we're going to step away and stay with us. We're going to take a short break. We're going to leave you with Tea Time with Janice Thornton and a couple of other spots, and we will be back with our special guest, Ron Syrek. Stay with us. We're back right after this, promise.
Are you an E or a C?
Both have Ridgeback.
These are loaded with tech.
Which one are you gaming? Definitely E for me.
It's just so forgiving.
I'm definitely an E. C is for Cheka. What else?
C is for kill it. C is me. Low spinning bombs.
So, are you an E or a C?
I don't know. Hey, wait a minute.
Pound for pound, nothing comes close.
Innovation begins at a single point. Elements, each with their unique character. Fire-forged steel creates unprecedented control. Chemistry delivers a touch so soft, combined to create a level of performance previously unimagined. Like magic, the Elixir, the new tour ball from Encore.
Welcome to Tea Time Fitness with Janice. Hi, I'm Janice Thornton with JT Fitness and Golf, and let's get into some stretches that you can do on the driving range. So grab your driver and let's get started. Let's do an external rotation. So you are going to grab your club, in your left hand, take your right elbow, put over your driver, and then have your hand grab underneath. Now you're going to gently pull with your hand and pull up and release. Allow yourself to come back into an external rotation. Try to keep that wrist flat and back. One more time. Reach it back and in. And just make sure that you do both sides. Take your game to the next level. Join the JT Fitness and Golf 90-day golf fitness program. Go to jtfitnessandgolf.com for more details.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Every time I see Janice do something, and she is terrific, my body's go, can I really do that? But that's what you need to do, obviously, to get a little flexibility in your game, which is going to help you. We're back with our special guest, award-winning golf writer and author, Ron Syrek. Ron, let's get into this a little bit. All this stuff being said about the LIV Tour and Greg Norman and blah, blah, blah. A number of questions for you. What was your first, your thoughts and your initial responses when the LIV Tour actually started coming about and these players were leaving the PGA Tour?
Well, my first reaction when LIV first came is I've seen this movie before. I went through it with Greg Norman in 1994 when he tried to create a alternate tour a small group of players playing limited field events for guaranteed money, and it didn't work out. Then Tim Fincham and the PGA Tour were able to Bigfoot him and keep it from happening. So that was my first reaction. And I'll tell you what it came to be for me is I think there are three components that this breaks down to.
Okay.
There's the financial issue, there's the moral issue, and there's the competition issue. The financial issue, the PGA Tour's already lost. They have gross revenue stream of $1.5 billion this year. The Saudi Public Investment Fund has $650 billion. So it's hard to compete. It's hard to compete against an opponent who doesn't care if they make money and can afford to lose money.
Right.
So the PGA Tour's lost that. The moral issue becomes an individual choice. Some people have different feelings about doing business with the Saudis. So to me, it all comes down to that third question. What's going to be the entertainment value? What's going to be the quality of competition? Will the same 48 players play in 54 holes every week with guaranteed prize money in a shotgun start be entertaining? Will it create some buzz out there? And I don't know what the answer to that. I mean, time will tell for that. Right now, I don't see it. I like the fact when some of the LIV people say that one of the things they're trying to do is grow the game. My first reaction to that is 48 players in a tournament. That's fewer than 1/3 the number in a regular PGA Tour event.
Right.
How are you growing the game?
Right.
I love when somebody like a Tom Kim can come out of nowhere on the PGA Tour and become a star. Or look this year at Cameron Young with somebody like that. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. They also need TV exposure, which they don't have right now. But it's going to come down to what's the quality of competition.
Yeah.
And the shotgun start to me is a big problem.
Yeah, I agree.
Finishing on different holes, I don't get how that's going to build intensity.
Yeah, I agree. And a lot of people, when we first started talking about it, said that, without TV exposure and stuff, it's going to go nowhere. Well, as you're aware, there's a lot of ink right now being written about Fox Sports. They're buying time on Fox Sports, and Greg Norman is kind of downplaying that a little bit, but there's no doubt about that they need TV exposure. And like you said, they certainly have the wherewithal to buy whatever they need to do, Ron. Don't you agree?
Yeah, from everything that I've seen about the possibility of a Fox deal, that is a time buy. And a time buy is essentially, it's like having an infomercial.
Right.
You buy the time to be on the air. And the other big nut that comes in there is they will be picking up production costs, which for a golf tournament is close to $1 million a week. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of golf is different. Other sports happen right in front of you. Golf is spread out over dozens and dozens of acres. It's costly to televise that, but they do have that. They do have that money. They can't keep doing what they did now. They were on YouTube and they were getting 50, 60,000 views.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a lot if you're trying to sell your tour.
Yeah. What do you say to the golf fans that are watching regular tour events here on the PGA Tour, and they go, you know what? I'm looking at the leaderboard. I don't know who half these guys are because my favorite player went over to to the LIV Tour and all of that, and a lot of people are complaining about it.
Well, quite frankly, if you look at the players who've gone over to the LIV Tour, most of them are players whose careers are primarily in the rearview mirror.
Yeah.
And they're also, it's an interesting mix of personalities that choose to go over there. When you look at Pat Perez and Patrick Reed, the highest ranked player there is Dustin Johnson. I would think that's probably. Look, Mickelson is a big fan favorite, but I think I'm right on this. I think Mickelson's broken par one round in the entire. He's getting $200 million and he's broken par once. Yeah. With the guaranteed last place, first tournament they played, Andy Ogletree finished last. So for finishing last, 48th place, he got $120,000. He shot 81, 77, 75, and got $120,000. He could play all eight. He could play all 8 live events this year, never break 75, and get $960,000.
Yeah, incredible.
To me, one of the things that I think sports fans like about golf is that, unlike the team sports, there are no guaranteed multi-year contracts. You know, if you sign a baseball player for a 5-year, $120 million deal, and he goes out and hits 213, you're still going to be paying him $100, that money over 5 years. In golf, people always liked the meritocracy of golf.
Yeah.
If you don't make the cut, you don't make the money.
You don't make the cut.
And that's, I think that giving that away and having the guaranteed money out there is a problem. And the fact is, and this is the other problem, these guys it's a classic in my mind, biting the hand that feeds you. The reason they are worth tens of millions, in some cases hundreds of millions of dollars to LIV Golf, is because of the exposure and reputation they build up on the PGA Tour.
Right.
So they are taking that notoriety, that fame that they got from the PGA Tour, and they're turning their backs on it and cashing it in someplace else.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting. A lot of people think, like you mentioned, it takes the incentive away, to really want to win because they're guaranteed X amount of money. And obviously money's important, but it's an interesting discussion. Do you think the antitrust lawsuit filed against the PGA Tour is justified?
I think the PGA Tour will do well in that lawsuit. The fact is, there are many, many professional tours out there. There's the DP World Tour. There's tours there's the Asia Tour. There's the Australasia Tour, the Sunshine Tour in Africa, the Canadian Tour, the Latin American. There's a lot of tours.
Yeah.
It just happens that the PGA Tour is the top tour.
Right.
And that's. That's no more antitrust than Major League Baseball is antitrust. You got to work your way up to the top tour. So I think they're going to do okay on that when it gets into the courts. And that's not even going to get before a judge for more than a year. I think we're looking for probably into 2024, 2025 before that's resolved.
Wow. Yeah, it is going to be interesting. Anyway, you have covered probably more major championships than anybody I could think of. Do you have a favorite as far as the majors, and why would that tournament be your favorite?
Well, they all have their different personalities to them, and that's what's, the Masters is the Masters.
Right.
It's the only one played on the same course every year. And believe me, the Masters might be the best run sporting event on the planet. And no matter what the sport is. So that's amazing. I like the fact that the U.S. Open is the tournament where par is a good score.
Yeah.
I love the British Open because it's links golf, The PGA of America has been, fighting to create their own identity there, but they've been such on a good run of good winners that's become the thing for it. But that fact that each one has its own distinctive personality makes them fun to watch, and that's not something. This is one thing you can't buy, no matter how many billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars you have. You can't buy history.
True.
You can't buy legacy. You
True.
can't buy tradition. The fact that we've been playing the British Open since before the American Civil War. It's been going a long time. The Masters and everything that comes with the green jacket. You can't manufacture that. That just comes from time.
That's an excellent point that you make. One thing that I just thought of too, and I want to get your slant on it, Ron. I know everybody thinks that winning majors is the be-all, end-all, but I don't know. On the other side of the coin, Ron, you've got maybe somebody won the U.S. Open and they've got one other PGA Tour win, as opposed to a guy who has won 45 tournaments on the PGA Tour. They've got great fields every week. There's a lot of competition, and they have no major championship wins. And everybody said, oh, I'd give that all away to win one major. I don't understand that, Ron. Maybe you can explain it to me. Give me the 50 wins on tour and no majors, as opposed to one win and having one major. I'm sorry, I don't get it.
Well, I think it's got to be a combination of both. I mean, you got to, certainly what Jack Nicklaus and Tiger Woods, Tiger winning 82 times, Jack winning 70 times, that established their legacy. But the fact that Jack won 18 majors and Tiger won 15 majors is a big part of it too.
Yeah.
I think the majors are where you prove who you are on the biggest stage. You look at the team sports, and some of the greatest athletes that I in my lifetime in team sports, Dan Marino in football, Ted Williams in baseball, never won a world championship.
Yep.
And that's, it doesn't diminish what their accomplishments were in the sport, but it is noticeable. It does come up in the conversation. How well do you perform? Now, team sports are different because other guys got to contribute too. But in golf, I think that we want to see them perform on the biggest stage.
Sure.
And so.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. All right, let me ask you this before we take our second break, Ron. You think Tiger Woods is still going to be relevant as a player?
I am fascinated with how Tiger Woods has emerged as an elder statesman in the game. When the scandal happened in 2009, I sort of thought he had frittered away that opportunity to become what Nicklaus and Player and Palmer became, somebody who could become an elder statesman, a spokesperson in the game. But I think the car crash in which he nearly lost his life humanized him a little bit more. Yeah. I think he's been a different person. He interacts with the fans and with other players much more than he ever did before. And there's a lot of players that I know who I have better relationships with them now that they're retired than when they were competitors. Curtis Strange was a fierce competitor, and I had trouble making a contact with him. He's now one of my good friends now.
Good. Okay.
And I think Tiger's sort of in that part of his life too, where he's less intensely focused on winning.
Right.
But the leadership role that both Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy have taken around the LIV Golf thing has surprised me and impressed me, and particularly the fact that Tiger has become sort of a player's spokesperson in defense of the PGA Tour is something that 10 years ago I wouldn't have seen that coming.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting you say that because Rory was quoted as saying, hey, the stuff going on between the PGA Tour and the LIV Tour is tearing golf apart. Is it really that bad, Ron?
Well, there's a lot of stuff that I've said on your show today that when I say things like that on social media, people call me names, people attack me, people are vicious, people tell me to shut up. It's like, yeah, there is that, and social media makes it easy. I mean, anybody with a smartphone and a laptop has a platform on which to And I always want to say, I don't engage with people who call me names and stuff like that. But what I want to say to them, you don't like what I write, don't read it. But don't tell me I don't have a
right.
Don't tell me I'm stupid or I have no right to have my
exactly.
opinion. So there is a nastiness that's come out there. I do think that there are some things that LIV has raised that the tours need to think about. One is, and I hope this comes to this, I think all the tours need to work together better.
I agree.
To plan their schedules so big events aren't up against each other.
Yeah.
And not only the European Tour against the PGA Tour, but men's tours against women's tours.
Yeah.
Figure out ways not to have events stepping on each other. That would be a huge thing. I think the team golf thing. Look, the PGA Tour could build 4-person teams into their regular tournament thing, and you don't worry about it until the end of the year, and then you take maybe the top 8 teams and then have them compete in a competition.
Right.
So
right.
that little team aspect is something that they could build into they could fold that into the PGA Tour without changing the PGA Tour's format.
Correct. No, that's a good point. All right, Ron, stay with us. We're going to step away and take another short break. We come back, we'll finish up with our special guest, Ron Syrek. Stay with us.
As golfers, we want instant gratification when it comes to a better golf swing and playing better golf. Impossible, you say? Not anymore. Golf Boost Artificial Intelligence (AI) has developed and patented the most advanced swing analysis technology in golf. Simply, the algorithms detect your body position and then analyze your golf swing using their artificial intelligence technology. The AI captures all the relevant data from your swing video and then presents you a personalized lesson. Golf Boost AI is the ultimate swing analysis and virtual instruction system for golfers of all ages and abilities. This sophisticated software takes into consideration your height and build, playing level, and returns the ideal solution for your swing. Bottom line, Golf Boost AI is an incredibly convenient and cost-effective tool for golfers to improve their swing. Go to golfboost.com and check it out. The app is free to download and try. Visit golfboost.com today.
All right, welcome back, everybody, to more of the 19th Hole Podcast for golfers. I'm Dennis Silvers, and we're finishing up with our very special guest, Mr. Ron Syrek. Ron, any plans for another book in the future?
I've been working on a book on the history of the LPGA for a while, and that's something. It's a project that is near and dear to my heart. There's a league of their own story to tell about the LPGA and what that tour did. 13 American women got together and created an organization that 75 years later now is a global tour.
Do you think that there's maybe a little bit of regret on the part of some people that they're kind of like an island unto their own and they were not part or under the umbrella of the PGA Tour?
I think that I think there was a point at which there was discussions about that, and certainly during the Great Recession, there were some people talking that the PGA Tour needed to take over the LPGA and bail it out financially. LPGA was down to 23 tournaments, but there is that problem of the money discrepancy between the men and the women, and quite frankly, this year. The LPGA is going to be playing for about $90 million. The PGA Tour played for about $420 million.
Wow.
And that's not even counting FedEx Cup bonus money.
Yeah.
So it's a significant difference there. The PGA Tour players also have one of the best pension plans in all of sports.
True.
Their deferred income plan is phenomenal. And so, how you for the two to merge and be run as the same organization, it would be hard to have them both under the same umbrella and have that kind of financial disparity.
Yeah,
we see that problem in soccer between the U.S. men's national team and the women's national team.
Right.
You have to narrow that gap.
Yeah, that's a good point. As you are well aware, Ron, having written for a number of sports publications, do you think that there might be an overload of information for the average weekend player when they pick up a copy of Golf Digest or Golf Magazine? I could learn how to cure my slice 3 different ways in the same publication. Do you think that's helpful? Do you think it's too much overload, especially today with the CDs, with the books, with YouTube, with, golf lessons and stuff? There's a lot for the average guy to absorb, and I think it causes problems personally.
I'd like to see all sports go back to a more simple time. The 2 women that I write books with, Pia Nilsson and Lynn Marriott, who teach Vision 54,
right.
they say that one of the problems with the game right now is that, and I did this when I was a kid, I learned the game from the green back to the tee.
Uh-huh.
And Tiger Woods learned the game that way, from the green back to the tee. That's why he has such a great short game. But more and more kids now are learning the game from the tee to the green.
Right.
They want to get on the driving range. They want to hit the ball 320.
Right.
They want to have a perfect golf swing.
Right.
And they lose sight of the fact that the point of the game is to get the ball in the hole quicker than anybody else.
Right.
As Pia once said to me, if Lee Trevino came along today, there'd be a coach trying to change his swing. And,
True.
And that's exactly true. I would like to see feel and come back into every sport, but particularly the sport that I'm most passionate about, golf. Some of my favorite players, Jack Nicklaus had far from a perfect golf swing. Arnold Palmer didn't have a perfect golf swing, but they felt the game, they played it with their brain and with their heart, and
True.
One quick story that one of the people that I'll play golf with occasionally in my men's league here, he will laser every shot that he hits to get the distance. And I just want to say to him, you know what? It's the same distance it was the last 1,000 times you played this hole. It hasn't changed. Quit overthinking it,
Yeah.
and just again, when I was a kid, my golf course that I grew up on had a 150-yard marker. That was the only yard marker that we had on the course.
Right.
But I'd look at a shot and say, this is a 6-iron. And for some reason, you felt it. You knew what that was. And I still think Tiger Woods is thought of as a power player, but he is one of the great feel players I've ever seen. His feel for the game, because Dad made him that way.
Right.
He'd play a round of golf with his dad when he was a kid, and he'd hit a ball up near the green, and Earl would go up, pick up Tiger's ball, throw it into the trees, and say, all right, make it up and down from there. And Tiger learned all the shots that way. And I do worry that over instruction is making people technically better, but they don't feel the game the same way.
That's a terrific point that you make. Anyway, Ron, I'm going to let you go. Thank you so much for spending all this time with us. You're always great. We really want to have you back sooner than later, and we wish you good luck in whatever you got going with the Golf Channel and whatever else down the road, and we appreciate it, my friend.
Thanks for having me on. Always fun to talk golf with people who know what they're talking about.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Ron Syrek, everybody. Just a great writer, a great guy, and he's done a lot. All right, we're going to step away, take our last break of the show, and we're going to kick it off with Crunch Time with Kerry. Be back right after this.
This is Core Time with Carrie. I am Carrie O'Rourke from Core Golf Fitness in partnership with Dennis Silvers of the 19th Hole Podcast for Golfers, where we show you how to improve your golf game by improving your body. Today we're talking about shoulders. Do you think a baseball pitcher walks up to the mound without any warm-up? where he winds up and goes from 0 to 100 miles per hour in 2 seconds time? Of course not. So why do you think that's okay for you to walk up to the first tee box without warming up your shoulders? Try this mobility exercise before a round of golf. I want you to interlace your fingers and pull them apart so there is tension coming through your muscles. Start by circling forward for about 15 and reverse for about 15. And then we're going to change that grip, flat hands, pressing difficultly against each other, and wind it up forward and wind it up backwards. This is going to increase the blood flow and start those shoulders moving before you play a round of golf. Want to know more about improving your body specifically for golf? I would love to see you inside one of my online programs. You can find me at coregolffitness.com or Carrie O'Rourke on Instagram and Facebook at Core, C-O-R, Golf Fitness. Give that a try and let me know how it goes.
Hey golfers, I've been a golf talk show host for a long time, and I've been playing golf even longer. Being in golf media, I've had the chance to play every ball ever made. I've tried them all. Well, my search is finally over because I found the best ball I have ever played with, and more golfers are finding the same thing. I started playing with the Elixir golf ball made by Encore Golf. Encore Golf has revolutionized both their golf balls, the Elixir or the Avant 55, or the brand new Vero X1, to where the performance of either will simply blow you away. It did me. If you're looking for better performance and durability with your ball, Encore Golf has it. Don't just take my word for it. Check them out at encoregolf.com and you'll become convinced, as I am, the first time you tee it up with Encore. It's the best performing ball for the price. Go to encoregolf.com and see for yourself. Your scores will love you for it. That's ONCORE golf.com. All right, nobody likes to admit they made a mistake, but especially me, but I did. I said crunch time with Carrie. It is core time, C-O-R. She's terrific also, so we'll keep an eye on that. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for this edition of the 19th Hole Podcast for Golfers with me, Dennis Silvers. We wish you all the best, and we hope you get out and play some golf and keep it in the short stuff. We've got some great guests coming up on future shows, so make sure you tune in every week, same time, same place. So until then, so long, everybody.